This is Maktub, a whale research vessel. They were here briefly.
Voyage has offered to clean the hull. Gonna help out and try out the new scraper. Get this big scraper. That's too big for me, so I'm gonna give it to him because he can make better use of it than me. I'll keep the medium-sized one that I lent to Ricardo. Ricardo's using it to clean his hull. Shit grows here like crazy, man. But you can clean it off pretty easily.
The spot was ideal to scratch Galopin's tummy. Clear, warm water, pretty good visibility, that is, before we started scrubbing. Paige said he saw baby hammerhead sharks. I'd seen them from the dinghy. Pretty common. This bay is like a nursery. Whales come here with their young, and that's partly why the whale research catamaran was here. We had a view of this vast beach from Galopin, and I had been wanting to walk along it to get to what was referred to as Cape Verde's Little Sahara Desert.
We're entering tourist zone. Lots of tourists. Big hotel. Huge beach. Giant Moroccan style hotel. Why? Cape Verde? Then again, why not?
Somebody here had seen a turtle lay its eggs. There were a lot of tourists laying around too. There are 2 enormous hotels side by side here, and a few beach bars. This was from the Portuguese colonial era, I assume. There are quite a few ruins left over from their occupation of the islands. Paige thinks this was a cement factory.
Pretty hotel complex here. Thought it was a village, a little town from a distance, but apparently it's a hotel.
After that last hotel, well, it was the desert. It took us about 3 hours to walk there. We didn't go into the heart of this desert. It was still a long ways away, and we had limited supplies.
We always come prepared with a strumpet. We walked a long way, so we deserve a little strumpet.
We walked behind the hotels in hopes to catch a shared taxi to the nearest town. I suppose these folks were gonna tear it up in the desert. To be quite honest, I'd love to be riding one of those now. We walked another few kilometers before we got to the next town and a ride back to Sao Ray.
A well-deserved beer. We walked about 10 kilometers, maybe more. Now we're just waiting for a ride back to Sahara. There goes Ricardo. He's happy. He's going to Sal, try to find some work, make some money, fix up a boat, and then travel like the rest of us. We'll probably see each other again. Ricardo was cool. Helped out quite a bit on the boat. It was good company. It's fun. He refused to drink strumperot because he says he gets crazy. Doit. And what did he mean by that? I don't know. So, well, maybe it was better we didn't find out. Anyways, ciao Ricardo. Nos vemos pronto, un otro día. We're off again. leaving Boavista. Had a lot of fun here. Going to the dunes, going to the neighborhood of Barak, hanging out with Pesh, Ricardo, and we briefly saw Mamadou, but he went off to the Canaries. So now we're gonna be heading east. Wind is going to be at our backs because there's a low pressure at the moment, and we might encounter some rain, but we don't know. So far it's really nice, so good. About 14-15 knots of wind. So we're about to hoist the sails. We're just waiting to clear these rocks here. It's called the English Reef. It's right over there. Obrigada, Maria. Pura galinha. Thank you, Maria, for the chicken that you made last night.
Chicken. I love it.
That we went and got. Tons of garlic, nice and grilled. Look at that. Galopin's doing really, really well. When you take care of Galopin, clean his hull, fix the little broken things that needs to be taken care of, his little injuries here and there. Boy, does he take good care of us. He is just cruising now. Cruising. It's absolutely astonishing how nice the conditions are today. From the south. Pesh never he's sailed with wind from the south. Always from the north. So this is pretty unique. There's a low pressure system that's above us that we're taking advantage of, which is blowing us from the south, making a bit like a spinning motion. So that's why we took off today, take advantage of this of these conditions to push us towards the east, towards Sao Nicolau. Because otherwise the wind's always coming from there, and we'd be going beating up wind. But this is absolutely beautiful, broad reach. My God. So we're sailing into a beautiful Cape Verdean sunset on our way to Sao Nicolau. We're actually going faster than expected. The wind's been absolutely spectacular. Between 10 and 17 knots, and I've been doing an average of 5 to 6 knots. Sometimes even 7 knots and up. So kind of filled up to Genoa to slow down a bit so we don't get there 2 or 3 in the morning, but more like at sunrise. So we'll see. And
The evening sail was not as cool as during the day. The wind dropped and there was a crossing wave effect. The trade wind sent ocean swell from the north, and the low pressure wind sent waves from the south. So the sails were slapping hard until we lowered the mainsail, which was the noisiest. And we kept to Genoa. Pesh had spent the entire night in the cockpit. I'd go inside when my shift was up, but sleep was not forthcoming when you get tossed around and sails slap you awake. When day begins to light up the sky, you get a natural lift, man. We could clearly see land, and our next port of call was getting very close. As we neared the island of Sao Nicolau, the waves calmed and the sun warmed us.
Well, here we are arriving at our destination, Carisal. It's tiny. There's a tiny little cove in there. You can see if we can squeeze in there or see how calm this anchorage is going to be. Pretty wild.
We are at a tiny village called Carisal. Peixe has relatives here. He went out to scout the spot while I stayed back to check on the anchor and do some editing while I wait for his report. As well, I need a good rinse. Later, I hope I get to meet some of Peixe's relatives and visit this cool little village.